Hello, my name is Brandy Tyler Densmore, and I go by Tyler. Welcome to my capstone presentation promoting maintenance and generalization methods to increase social skills experience outside of the classroom. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to give a special thanks to several very important people. Dr. Clinton, thank you. I remember my first impression of you, and I remember thinking, what a phenomenal person and professor. You are definitely called to be a teacher. And I remember thinking, I wish I could have had him for an elementary, middle school, and high school teacher. The way you present information and the care that you put into things is astonishing. And I thank you, and I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity to have you as a professor, and I appreciate everything. Thank you. Dr. Southall, you were always my go-to person, and I feel very blessed to have had you as my advisor and professor. Now, to all the things I will remember, your encouragement has meant so much to me, and I appreciate the time and support that you have provided me. And I guess to sum it up, you've just always made me feel like somebody, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, and Professor Evans, this is my first time having you as a professor, and it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience, and I appreciate your sense of humor more than you will ever know. It's really made this process a lot smoother, and I thank you. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you for serving as my evaluators for this presentation. Your leadership and support have meant more than you will know, and like I said, I just greatly appreciate everything each of you have done for me. It's been a wonderful experience here at Piedmont, and I'm very thankful and blessed to have went to this school. I would like to extend one more thank you to Professor Evans and Dr. Clinton for your guidance throughout this process, and I appreciate the uplifting, supportive presence that you have been during this time. Thank you. I want to tell you a little bit about me. Before earning my bachelor's degree in special education from Western Governors University in 2015, I worked as a paraprofessional. And I have to say, I'm thankful for my time as a paraprofessional before becoming a teacher. That hands-on experience helped guide my understanding in my academic courses, and it's just been very vital for me and where I am right now. And I'm greatly appreciative for that time. And I am also greatly appreciative that in 2021, I decided it was time to earn my master's, and I'm thankful that I did it through Piedmont. Um, During my studies at Piedmont, I was constantly challenged to be better, to be a better student, to be a better collaborator with my peers and professors, and to be a better educator for my students. During the start of this capstone class, we were asked to answer questions that would help guide our plan in our capstone. Out of all the questions, the two that I felt illustrated my growth and potential were: one, what is the biggest change in you from the beginning of the program until now? And two, when was the day you knew you were meant to teach or in the right profession? And this is what I shared, that the biggest change in me from the beginning of this program until now is my confidence in who I am as an educator and who I am as an individual. Because too often I find myself distracted by others' opinions and beliefs of who they say I should be as a teacher. However, as I anxiously began this program, unsure of my outcome, I encountered some amazing teachers and mentors that would make this journey genuine and successful. And that's when I immediately remembered why I am where I am. It's the caring people I connect with that make the greatest impact and impression on me. And it's that wealth of knowledge that they present in each class with passion and care, and it resonated with me about my beliefs. And this program reminded me of who I am and increased my confidence to continue the path I know I was meant to travel. And this leads me to my second answer. The day I knew I was right where I was meant to be was the day a student placed a hand-painted rock with a cross and the word faith on it in my hand. He apologized for his behavior the previous day by saying how sorry he was. He thought this would make me happy, and he said that it reminded him of me. This young man will never realize the impact he had on me this day. And I keep that rock close by to remind me on those rough days. And I keep that rock close by me, and on those rough days, I grab that rock and I remember my purpose, and I find joy and peace in that precious moment. Sorry. I'm going to jump right into my next slide, and this is the standards for the Council for Exceptional Children Standards, Advanced Preparation. And my portfolio that I created consists of these standards, and I provided artifacts for each one. And it's from my journey throughout Piedmont. I'm just going to briefly go over each standard. Standard 8 states, and that's assessment, and it states that an educator of special education obtains both knowledge and skills to individualize or personalize learning in both specialized and general education curriculum for individuals with exceptionalities. The next standard is curricular content knowledge, and that's standard 9, and it states that a special education specialist have an extensive understanding of special education as a developing and changeable discipline, which is based on evidence-based principles and theories that impact the education of individuals with exceptionalities in the school and the world. The next standard is programs, services, and outcomes, and this is standard 10, and states that a special education specialist apply their knowledge of cognitive and behavioral science, learning theory, evidence-based practice, and instructional technologies to improve programs, services, and supports for individuals with exceptionalities. The next one is research and inquiry, and this is standard 11, and it states that a special education specialist use research to improve instructional techniques, invention strategies, and curriculum. Special education specialists evaluate the appropriateness of research methods in relation to the validation of practices and use the literature to inform professional practice. The next one, leadership and policy. This one is standard 12, and it states that a special education specialist embrace high professional beliefs and help others understand the needs of individuals with exceptionalities. And they create and maintain collaborative and effective work environments that respect and protect the rights of individuals with exceptionalities and their families. Professional and ethical practice is standard 13, and it states that special education specialists have a profound understanding of the history of special education, legal policies, ethical standards, and emerging issues that informs the leadership of special education specialists. And they use this as the groundwork to guide their own professional understanding of special education and to help facilitate others' understanding of special education as well. Collaboration. This is standard 14, and it states that special education specialists have a deep understanding of the importance of collaboration with education colleagues, families, related service providers, and others from the community. They use collaboration to promote understanding, resolve conflicts, and to build consensus. So this was the Council for Exceptional Children Standards Advanced Preparation, and this is a great tool to always be able to refer back to and I appreciate this opportunity to present my portfolio and the artifacts that I was able to align with them. So I'm going to jump right into this capstone, and I'm going to highlight how I was able to generalize what I learned from my classes and my professors and incorporate it into my classroom. It nicely intertwines each piece and it forms a strong puzzle. My time at Piedmont has continued my growth and understanding of what it means to be an educator. So this is maintenance. So what is maintenance? Well, in teaching, maintenance is the process of retaining a skill by practicing it. And the example could be that individuals may learn to write their name or they may learn to count money. But if they do not practice it repeatedly, they're probably going to forget. So what is generalization? In teaching, generalization is the process of using a skill in different settings. And the example that I have, I think of like an individual who may learn to zip their jacket, but can they transfer that skill to their book bag or to anything else with a zipper? Or if someone says hello to them, can they respond with a variety of responses like hi, hey, what's up? And so generalization is an individual's ability to perform a skill in different environments and the ability to apply a skill in a different way while continuing to exhibit that skill over time. So they're maintaining that skill. And so I found this to be very important because I believe these to be the cornerstones, maintenance and generalization, and the way it involves differentiated instruction, positive behavior, it promotes student engagement, and lastly, it builds relationships. In this capstone, I will focus on promoting maintenance and generalization methods to increase social skills experience outside of the classroom. So how do you facilitate generalization? So when you're in the classroom, you know that generalization is important. How are you going to facilitate that for the students? These are a few of them. Teach target behavior in a natural setting, train across individuals, and train in a variety of settings. And so the example, kind of combining all this into one example, if the target behavior involves a deficit in the playground, then this would be where the lesson is taught, and that's teaching it in the natural setting. And then when you're thinking about training across individuals, you want the student to be able to do it with different adults, to be able to do it with different students in other classrooms. And when you think of train in a variety of settings, so like for me in social skills, they could do it in my classroom, but could they go into their math class? And could they do the same expectations in that setting? So the instruction should be adaptable and important. If you teach the student how to join a game of hopscotch, then it will only be useful for that. But teaching students to wait at the end of the line in any game will allow for a variety of games. And then you combine that with conversation starters, like by asking to play, then this will be even more applicable for the students. That was just my example. So now it's techniques for assessing and training generalization. And that consists of train and hope, train loosely, meditate generalization. Train and hope refer to teaching individuals a skill during instruction and hoping the individual will generalize the use of that skill. And that's what I'm afraid that I often did. They would come into the social skills class and have a seat, and we'd go over a lesson, and then they would go about their business the rest of the day. I mean, of course, I was in and out providing support, or they were coming to me, but I was basically presenting the information and then hoping that they would apply it outside of the classroom. But I also know that I train loosely, and this occurs by recognizing trainable moments to teach whenever they occur. And so, like if I was out supporting a student in a co-taught class or a small group class, if they would exhibit inappropriate behaviors or unexpected behaviors, I could immediately pull them aside and go over what we learned in social skills that morning, and are they exhibiting those behaviors. So I did do that. And then the next one is meditate generalization, which is teaching students to monitor and report their own generalization of appropriate behavior. And that, I felt like the token economy and self-management form I had helped, because we were able to go over their behaviors. Were they their target behaviors? Did they exhibit the behaviors they were supposed to, or did they not? And then the teacher had to match up with them as well. And I also had a behavior map that I would go over with the students, and I felt like that kind of helped them manage those behaviors as well. And so that's going to lead me into the examples that I have of maintaining and generalizing in my classroom, and how I was able to take what I was learning at Piedmont and incorporate it into the classroom. And it's important to incorporate activities that encourage students to continue using strategies they're taught and how to use it in other settings. And so when I first began co-teaching in the ACA classroom, which is Autism Accommodated Curriculum, I worked closely with a seasoned teacher. And so every Friday and Monday, she did an activity with the students called Weekend Sharing. And this consisted of students sitting at round tables, which she said was needed to cultivate discussion. Yet this Weekend Sharing was with tight control and without understanding the why behind it. So I felt like the students were just so used to doing it, but they didn't really understand why they were doing it. It reminded me of popcorn reading. The students would share and then they would popcorn to the next person. And I love this activity and thought it was wonderful. And I could see the application and reason, but I don't think that the students did. So this school year, I was given the opportunity to take this program, the ACA Autism Accommodated Curriculum class, and open it in a brand new school that opened up in our county. So I was excited. I was like, yay, I finally have my own classroom. I can try new things. I had all these great things in mind. And so I was excited. And so we did the Weekend Sharing, but I changed it. And we did this daily instead of just Friday and Monday, which led me to naming it something different. It was no longer Weekend Sharing, it was daily sharing. And we would begin by asking, how are you feeling? Then we would ask, what did you do yesterday, or what did you do over the weekend? It just depended on the day. And so I only had a few desks in my classroom, but they nicely formed one big circular table for the students. So they would all sit at their desk, and I would join in by sitting at a desk. And during one of our discussions with the SLP, she usually would come in once a week, and we would do a lesson together. But we were all sitting at the table, and one of the students said, I'm jealous of the students that sit in a cafe with friends and they talk. And I realized right then and there that what I was doing in the classroom was not leaving. So while we were practicing this discussion at a circular table, and I was trying to make it more loose, they had no idea that, I mean, I don't feel like they had any idea why we were doing this and how it applied to outside the classroom. And when he said that, it just broke my heart. So I was like, I've got to do something different. So I realized that it was not being maintained. It was only being maintained in the classroom, but it was not. They did not see the overarching idea. So I explained the reason we sit in a circle and have this discussion. I apologized for not explaining before. And as we sat in that circle, I said, no more popcorning. We're not popcorning anymore. I said, we are pretending to sit at the lunch table with a group of friends, and we will take turns by initiating conversations with each other. and we will stop and start conversations naturally as if we are in a relaxed environment, just enjoying conversation with friends. And I explained the purpose of sitting and discussing our feelings and what we did yesterday or over the weekend as part of learning how to have conversations in and out of the classroom. And I also explained to them that this goes along with the many of our lessons. And those lessons involve conversation stoplight model, conversation drivers and stoppers. And in that moment, everything came together for me. And it was this last year and a half that I have learned so much as an educator. And I realize it's a mixture of different things. And it's just kind of like putting a delicious meal together or putting the last few pieces together of a big puzzle. It takes every ingredient to make the meal delicious. And it takes every piece of the puzzle to make the beautiful picture. My experience as a paraprofessional, working with a variety of people, observing different teachers and styles, and obtaining my bachelor's degree and now my master's, which I'm very thankful for that. It's all those components that have changed me for the better, and I'm thankful for each. And honestly, I'm glad my master's got to be the final ingredient because it's been icing on the cake for me. It was perfect timing, and what I learned will be stored in my heart and my mind for years to come. And my classroom has become a classroom of understanding maintenance and generalization in the context it is taught. And I'm sorry that I've teared up a couple of times. It's just been a long process, but it's been the most valuable and worthwhile experience, and I'm just grateful for it all. Okay, I'm going to go to the next slide. So this is, I just had some examples to kind of go back to what I was talking about, generalization and maintenance. In one of my classes with Dr. Southall, we had to use the SIM strategy, and it was SCORE, and that was based on students being able to get in a group and work together. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to work together? We're going to share ideas. We're going to compliment others. We're going to offer help or encouragement, recommend changes nicely, and exercise self-control. And while this was important in social skills, I was also able to take it out to the students' other classrooms, so their English class, their math class. And not only were my students seeing this, but the other students. And this skill is something that the students will use not just in their academic educational journey, but they will use it throughout their whole life. And so I was just thankful to be able to have the opportunity to share this with the students. And the next thing, this is the social behavior map I was talking about. So a lot of times, if the students would have an unexpected behavior, maybe they were yelling out in class or they had inappropriate proximity with another student, I was able to walk them through what they were doing. So what was the unexpected behavior? How did you make the other people feel? What were those consequences? And now how do you feel as a result? So I was able to teach right there in that context, even though I'd have to pull them aside, but I felt this was vital to them learning right then and there. It also reminds me of the social autopsy. And so the next thing, at the beginning of the school year, we were doing a lot of like beginning lessons. So I guess it was probably in December, I decided that all those skills that we were learning from August up until probably about late November, I wanted to see if they could apply that in the kitchen. I had a kitchen next door, so we came up with a lesson, and it was breakfast, and we decided to cook breakfast. And during that time, I stepped back, and the students in my class, I observed and watched them have verbal communication, their body language, how they cooperated with each other, and how they respected each other. And I just let them cook and work together within the kitchen, and this provided me some knowledge of how they were maintaining what we learned in the classroom and how they were, even though they weren't doing it outside of our classroom, I wanted to see how well they could do it with each other without me facilitating. So I got to sit back and just watch their interaction. And this was really fun. I plan to do this more and step it up more. And this also leads me to self-management. So I use this in my research class, and this was valuable. I love this. It incorporated the token economy, their target behaviors, and self-management. So the student, and their behaviors, they all had different target behaviors, but I could adapt it based on what they needed. But so, since they weren't with me all day, I needed to know how they were generalizing and maintaining their behaviors outside of the social skills classroom. And I did this by they all had their papers and they would go from class to class. But first, they had to answer the questions. And then, once they answered, then they asked the teacher. So the teacher had to match up with the student, and that's how their points were based on. If they agreed with each other, they would earn points. If they did not agree with each other, they would not earn points. And then based on what they wanted to work for, determined what reward they would get. So this is my class. This was my first year working at East Forsyth High School. I was doing the same program that I had done at North Forsyth, but this was a brand new school. And like I said, I was blessed with the opportunity to go over there and open this program. And these students, wonderful students, and I was very blessed to work with them. And so my plans for the upcoming school year, which I'm actually going back to the previous school, and so I plan to incorporate more opportunities for the students to be able to generalize their skills. And I would like to try to come up with an idea of a business that we could have within the school. I would like to do more cooking with the students, any kind of life skills I can do with them. I would like to try to find ways to incorporate more field trips. They are responsible for their classes, so I have to keep that in mind as well. And then one other thing I talked to my facilitator about was the students I work with being a peer buddy for the Special Olympics, like the elementary kids. And so I'm excited for all these great things that I will possibly have the opportunity to try. And one more last time, if I said that right, one more time, I just would like to thank you, Dr. Clinton, Dr. Southall, and Professor Evans for everything. And I hope that you've enjoyed my presentation, and thank you very much for taking a part in this wonderful experience that I had at Piedmont. I hope you all have a blessed evening. Thank you.